Imagine zombies that can think, talk.
I can feel myself rot.
Now imagine you can't kill them, and every time you try, you just make more. What's up, freaks? Welcome to The Laughing Dead, your shady online source for the finest zombie schlock. I'm your host, Ethan, and in this episode, we're discussing a real heavy hitter in the world of cult horror. A masterpiece of a film that looms over the zombie genre like a titan. Return to the Living Dead hit theaters in 1985 in direct competition with Romero's Day of the Dead. It was a box office hit, grossing over $14 million off a slim $4 million investment, thoroughly trouncing the Romero offering and showing the world that zombies are actually kind of funny. The story was written by John Russo, the lesser-known creator of the 1968 classic, Night of the Living Dead. After creating horror history, Russo and Romero, they couldn't agree on the direction the saga should take. They decided to split the property and go their separate ways. And Russo would have rights to the Living Dead portion of the title. For Russo's first entry, he swung for the fences, bringing on the legend Dan O'Bannon to both adapt the screenplay and direct the film. For those who don't know, that's the guy who wrote the screenplay for Alien. So needless to say, this movie has a hell of a resume. So whether you're a walking encyclopedia of cult horror facts or just checking out the scene, get yourself comfy, because we're jumping right in. The movie opens on a little message to the viewer. Everything you're about to see is completely true, so don't question it. This totally true story starts at the Uneeda Medical Supply, a menacing building that looks like the Amityville house if it was built in the Eastern Bloc. Inside we meet Freddy, the newest hire on staff, who's getting the grand tour from his new boss Frank, and Uneeda has everything. Hey, you need half a dog? Well, they got him.
These are split dogs. Yep.
How about an unethically sourced human skeleton?
All skeletons come from India.
No kidding, how come?
They even have fresh cadavers just hanging around. A lot of people would be creeped out, but Freddy seems genuinely interested. Like a curious kid, he asks a simple question that seals his fate.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever saw in here?
Shit, well that's easy. It's still in the basement. See, Night of the Living Dead isn't just a movie in a movie. It's part of a government cover-up. In this tale, there really was a spill of the infamous 2,4,5-trioxin. The army managed to contain it, but due to a slight paperwork error, the canisters landed in storage right here at Uneeda. Son of a bitch, they really do have everything. Freddy is terrified but enthralled, and for the second time that day, he asks a question he wishes he could take back.
Hey, these things don't leak, do they?
Leak? Hell no. These things were made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
And so it begins. Not far away, we find a group of crust punks roving the streets like a pack of dogs. They've got super rad names like Spider, Scuzz, and of course, my girl Trash.
I like death.
Of course you do. They're cooler than cool and looking to party. But first, they gotta catch a ride, which introduces the last member of our ragtag gang, a guy who goes by the very YouTube-friendly name of Suicide.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume?
Yes, I do.
With the team assembled, they've just gotta pick up Freddy. He always knows where the party's at. Only one problem though, he doesn't get off work for like 2 hours. So they decide to wait it out at an old abandoned cemetery across the street from Freddy's new job. That's kinda messed up, man. Just the concept of an abandoned cemetery. All those graves forgotten, left in disrepair. That's why I'm gonna be cremated. And then my ashes will be baked into a giant cake that'll be served at my funeral. Comment below what wacky shit you would do with your ashes. Back in the basement of Uneeda, our boys are coming to from their little gas nap, and the lingering stank is only the beginning of their problems. The specimen tank, empty. And when they return to the warehouse, it only gets weirder. The split dogs are howling and looking for revenge. And when the pair are assailed by a powerful banging, it's all they can do in a panic to lock the freezer door and retreat to the office. Freddy wants to call the cops, but they settle on calling Bert. He owns the place. This is his problem. Back in the cemetery, things are going great. The kids are talking about their dreams and aspirations.
Bunch of old men to get around me and start eating me alive.
So much talk of death has Trash all worked up.
Trash is taking off her clothes again.
She hop skips her ass onto some poor fool's tombstone and drops the 80s version of a twerk. From this point forward, Trash is naked as a jaybird, whole rest of the film. And honestly, respect to actress Linnea Quigley. Her dedication to the craft earned her prime scream queen status. Back at Uneeda, Bert arrives and he is pissed.
Stupid moron, you idiot! What's the matter with you, Frank?
He immediately decides this is staying in-house. No cops, no army, just 3 idiots and a foolproof plan. Open the freezer, smash its skull in. All right, you ready? It goes poorly. After a little struggle, they finally drive the pick through the creature's skull, but it does nothing but pin it to the floor. It's flopping around like a fish, and even after total deconstruction, the pieces still twitch and writhe, searching for delicious brains. There must be another way. And then it hits him.
They gotta burn it, reduce it to ash.
Introducing Ernie, the mortician next door. While he might be a little quick on the draw, he's been friends with Bert since the olden days. Ernie lends use of his crematorium to help rid Bert of his squirming pile of parts. They load the machine, fire it up, and presto, problem solved, right? Not so fast. You see that giant plume of trioxin-laced smoke rising from the crematorium? You see that fat rain cloud conveniently placed directly above said crematorium? Well, you know what's coming. The sky's open and the rain comes down in buckets, drenching the cemetery and its occupants. The kids bail in a hurry, but the damn car won't start, and the roof leaks, so they hightail it towards the medical supply. Already inside Unita, good girl Tina wanders the empty warehouse expecting to find Freddy. But when her search brings her to the basement, she's introduced to this sloppy, doppy, stank-ass motherfucker right here, commonly known as the Tar Man. Before Tina can make it up the stairs, the whole crew comes bumbling into the basement like Mystery Inc.
Chink is, it's a clue.
And right back up the stairs they go. Meanwhile, Bert is snapped out of his touchdown dance by the realization that Frank and Freddy are real sick. Ernie calls for an ambulance, and they show up expecting some poison victims. But it doesn't take them long to figure out these dudes are stone dead.
Because technically, you're not alive.
No pulse, no reflexes, and body temps in the low 70s. There's no doubt about it, as long as you ignore the constant bitching and moaning, that is. The paramedics are perplexed. They head out for some stretchers and get swarmed by the dead. The graveyard has turned out all its residents. And when the kids run from Unita, they stumble into an entirely new kind of party. Trash finally gets to fulfill her fantasy. And in the ruckus, the survivors seek refuge at Ernie's place. The horde outside only grows more aggressive as the living barricade themselves in. And we lose Scuzz when he's munched on by this piece of human jerky. The ghoul is tied down and interrogated.
Hurts to be dead.
And finally, they see the writing on the wall. Frank and Freddy, they gotta be quarantined. They decide to lock him in the chapel, but Tina won't leave Freddy's side, loyal to the bitter end. Outside, the number of dead is ever growing. They're ordering up first responders like it's Grubhub.
Send more paramedics.
But that's just an appetizer. When the cops show up deep, looking for their comrades, the real feast begins. Zombie Trash rises from the mud and muck like a shit phoenix, and her death has done her no favors in the looks department.
What a butterface.
And I thought for sure after all that buildup that Zombie Trash was gonna be a major player, leader of the horde or something. But nah, she just eats a bum and that's kinda it. Pretty anticlimactic. Anyways, it's around this point that Tina starts to regret her blind loyalty. Freddy perks right up when he realizes it's her warm, live brains that he needs, like Mama's chicken noodle soup. Lucky for her, the boys bust in and put the hurt on Freddy. The sledgehammer buys him a second, but the acid leaves him blind and creates a window to get that door sealed shut. The remaining survivors are growing desperate. Spider has a nervous breakdown, but Bert is kind enough to snap him out of it.
What is the 5 fingers say to the face?
And they hatch a plan. One of the many police cars that have collected in the lot was left running, so Bert and Spider step up. The plan was to fight their way to the car and pick up the rest of the folks in the mortuary, but the horde dogpiles the cruiser. They're forced to bail. The streets are flooded with zombies. It's thicker than an LA street takeover out here and almost as brainless. Bert wrecks the car, and the pair find themselves right back where it all started. You need a medical supply. Ernie and Tina are left back at the mortuary, and conditions continue to worsen. Freddy is nearly through the chapel door, and there's no help coming. They're forced to hide themselves away in the cramped attic space as Freddy's blind corpse taunts them from below. He's completely given himself over to the pain and hunger of death. Frank, on the other hand, is stronger. He accepts the fact he's died this night, and he heads for the crematorium before he loses self-control. Fun fact, this scene wasn't actually in the original script. Actor James Karen suggested this ending for Frank simply because he didn't want to have to join the zombie horde outside and thus spend days standing around moaning in the rain. Either way, I think it's a great end for the character and an amazing performance from Mr. Karen. Bravo. And so begins our final act. Bert and Spider plan for one more push, a last-ditch effort to reach the phone in the basement. They're confronted by the Tar Man, but Bert knocks his block clean off, and for once, the plan succeeds. Well, kinda. See, the phone only lets them know how bad things really are. The police perimeter is fallen, and the only option left is to call the number on the side of the tank. So Bert makes the call. The Army officer takes in all the details, and in a calm, reassuring voice, they're told to sit tight. There's a contingency in place. Final thoughts. Return of the Living Dead is the epitome of what a zombie story should be. It's funny, sexy, and well-paced. Not overly serious, even though when you stop to think about it, these zombies are terrifying. They're fast, tireless, and completely immortal. They remember more than your standard walker, meaning they can open doors, use tools, and hold grudges. Top it all off with the darkest ending possible, and you have a timeless horror masterpiece that's beloved by millions to this day. If you had a good time tonight, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more cult classic featurettes. Till the next one, keep those horror classics flowing, and remember, if you laugh when others scream, you found your home. This has been The Laughing Dead. Thanks for watching.